Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is the Peoria IoT Meetup, so thank you for coming today. I also want to thank Andrew Newey, who gives us this wonderful space, the Nest here in Peoria, Illinois, for hosting our IoT Meetups. And thank you all for coming tonight. I also want to thank our speaker tonight, Sudheer. Trying to pronounce your last name, I'm sorry.
Sajja.
Sajja. Thank you, Sudheer Sajja, for he bought all the pizza and the beer and the water, so thank you very much. I'm very excited to introduce Sudheer, who's going to be our speaker tonight, and he's going to be talking about the robots and the bots. Very, very excited about that. I do want to ask those online, if you have not joined the IoT Peoria Meetup, please do. Andrew put the link in the meetup. What that does is it allows us to send out messages to you, to announce that we're going to have meetups, and just to let you participate a little bit more. So with that, I'm going to turn it over.
Yep. Thank you, Shannon. Good?
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys, for coming down and actually giving us the opportunity to actually talk about Pringle Robotics, what are we doing, and so thank you for the opportunity again. Okay. So what we're going to do is just walk through, introduce Pringle Robotics, and also kind of go through like a small little video of what we're doing at work. Okay. So Pringle Robotics. You have a clicker. Okay. So we are building autonomous bot service bots. We're a solution provider, essentially not just doing the physical bots as well, but we are also building software on top of it. Okay. And we've been pioneering in the hospital and facilities management space. Subsidiary of Pringle Technologies. So Pringle Technologies is our parent company, which has been in the software as a service business, and we started out there, and now we're slowly getting into the robotics side. Robotics started in 2019, but literally, we're working. We got our first production bot last year. Okay. Our vision is to next slide. Yeah, just click that. Our vision is to empower people, empower people to kind of, look out from the productivity and the safety standpoint. Okay, I mean, it's not intended to replace people. We always believe the last mile should be done by human beings. The bots are essentially assistants or tools, for human beings. Okay, so that's our vision, and we want to create communities to be safer and more productive. So in terms of our journey, in 2019 is when we actually were approached by a restaurant customer of ours who was actually looking for, they were having, employees not showing up, and so it's employee shortage, and also, there was a lot of burnout in the employees, who were coming to work. And since we were providing them the complete technology stack for their restaurant, they asked us to come in and help if there's a solution that we could build. And what we did was we talked to the staff down there, and what we found was the staff were making a lot of unnecessary steps. They were spending a lot of time between the kitchen and the table, and so what we thought was we could come up with a delivery bot. And at the time, we were looking at Waymo, which was into this LiDAR tech and things like that. And so using LiDAR tech and the combination of some software components, we were able to build our first chassis to kind of support to solve the problem of moving stuff from point A to point B. Okay, so we did that in 2019, and then 2020, 2021 timeframe, we actually created our first prototype, and March of last year is when the first bot came into existence. Since then, from delivery bot, we went all the way to sanitization, So today we have a fleet of bots doing several things, right from hosting to marketing to sanitization, disinfection, and things like that. And we're also looking out for, as people see these bots, they're coming up with a lot of ideas. And because bottom line, the bottom chassis of it is the common thing across all of them. And it's kind of coming to a point where we can put anything on top of it. It could be closed compartments, it could be UV disinfecting compartments that we can build on. In fact, there are some people asking for, can this become a wheelchair at some point, right? So there are lots of use cases, but I think we're doing one at a time based on what's the most important use case that we want to solve, right? So that's our journey. So we'll talk about our bots a little bit, the ones which we have. The first one, Ketty, which is running around here. Essentially, it is used for marketing and also for lighter weight delivery. So some examples where we have deployed this is like in Peoria, Avanti's kind of has them for hosting. So as customers come into the store, rather than the hostess leave their station and go and try to seat the customers, they can press the table number and then it asks the customers to actually follow the bot. Okay? So they're using it for that purpose. In schools, like in Hickory Grove Elementary, we're seeing where kids are forgetting things at home, and it's not like the old days, where parents can go back to the classroom and give their kids, their stuff. So it's more like about, so these days, you have to leave them in the front office, and the front office staff have to go give it down to the classrooms. Approximately, they're doing like 40 trips a day, and so now this kind of supports that you're minimizing the amount of footprint on their legs there, so it'll help them out, right? So this is primarily used for food running, dish buzzing, and it's a walking, talking billboard. So we're planning on to put it in malls, So and we're looking at the next generation one, which will actually be a little smarter in terms of more targeted marketing, right? Imagine a scenario where you come into the mall, you can say, take me to Prada, take me to Gap, right? So that it can do today, but tomorrow, what are the specials in this particular store? What is the specials in that store? Those are future enhancements to the kind of display mechanism. Also, we're looking at NLX, so natural language processing, so people can interact directly with those bots instead of actually pressing things on it, right? So it'll be touch-free. So that's Ketty, and then we have Bella. Bella is primarily used for delivery only. It's sort of like a souped-up delivery assistant. The payload of that is about 80 pounds. So you have like trays, and you can also do multiple, table deliveries at a time. And it's got nice little weight sensors on it, which actually tell you that the food is picked up from the trays and things like that. Okay, so that's Bella. And then let's move on to the next one. And this is a Pudoctor. This is primarily for disinfection. So if you look at it, it's got both UV and also the dry mist disinfection that's going on. The idea behind this is, if you look at it, these days, when COVID came in, economy almost shut down. Places where people congregate, everybody's like scared the heck out of it. They're scared. And so the thought process here is, we should not be shutting down economies anymore. It should be like, we should up our levels of sanitization, right? And how do we do that? When facilities are doing deep cleaning, you remember those guys coming in, like in Ghostbusters, they're wearing these backpacks and fogging the whole place out. They're doing once a month. Why do we have to do it once a month? Can we do it every day, right? So that is the thought process behind this. And if you look at Hickory Grove Elementary School, we are doing 90,000 square feet in 3 hours, and it's done every day, right? When you do 3 hours every day, and the place is sanitized. So tomorrow, it could be another variation of the virus that comes in, but you're still prepared, right? You don't have to shut things down. So that's the thought process of thought behind the product. Our goal is wherever people congregate, airports, casinos, malls, schools, this is something that should be put in place, because of the fact that, we have to be, increasing our levels of sanitization and actually be prepared for the next variation that's coming through, right? So that's Pudakta. I mean, it's doing a fabulous job, and we are very, very, very happy about that product because of the fact that, a lot of hotels now, if you'll be seeing in some of the hotels in Peoria, they're looking at putting this in, and it gives a sense of satisfaction. And the thing behind this also is we are not only just disinfecting, we're capturing the statistics behind it, right? And those statistics are very important for people to know, in a school setting, it's the parents, it's the teachers, the students, they have to know, what's it actually doing, right? And then in different settings, different constituents, they all get informed about how well it is disinfecting, and then it'll help them be at peace and not worry about fear anymore, fear the next virus. So what's in store for the future? So we're looking at building our operations hub here in Peoria. Our thought process is all of operations. So as these bots get deployed worldwide, we are looking at bringing the monitoring of all of these bots, because these are all smart devices. So we should be we are monitoring them. We're collecting data every 10 minutes. Now we need to make some sense around it. Like back in my old Caterpillar days, we talk about preemptive maintenance and all those things. So those kind of things we have to do. So today we are collecting a lot of data, but tomorrow we have to get it. We have to get it to the point where we're proactive and we're able to make sure no downtime. That's the minimize the downtime is what I'm trying to suggest there. So our goal is to build a centralized operation center in Peoria, looking at about increasing our team to around like 50 plus people by the end of the year to monitor these bots, remotely monitor these bots, and also assist in any troubleshooting. If customers have issues on the bots, we should be able to do it remotely. I don't think we need to go in person unless there's a physical breakdown, right? Because these are smart, they're already telling us what's going on these bots, so why not just do it remotely? Got it. So that's centralized, and then we're also scaling to 17 metros. By the end of the year, we want to be in 17 metros in US. We call this a pod concept. Essentially, in pods, we're looking out for sales, field techs, and servicing in these areas. Our goal is to be in 17 metros by the end of the year. Okay. With that, let's go into a short video that we have, just describing the different bots, what do they do in the real world, and also some fun things that we do with those bots at home. Okay. right. Thank you. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. If anybody's got questions, feel free.
How's it communicate?
Communicate with.
Anything. I'm assuming they're talking to each other, or there's some sort of centralized
Yeah, so-
tool, or
So you're doing Wi-Fi,
is it
cellular.
Wi-Fi, 5G,
Yeah.
T-Mobile buy-in?
Yeah, Shannon has provided the network for us, and then so we have a lot of so when multiple robots are in the room, they all know, they have awareness of each other. So that is more through Bluetooth. They're context aware, and then in terms of communicating back to our platform, whenever they have network. Our platform is on the cloud. And so all of the data, that comes onto all of this is more through Wi-Fi. Right? We do Wi-Fi. We're not doing any cellular yet because we didn't see areas where we need to go cellular. But eventually, yes, there's a possibility for cellular. Now, coming to in locations like waiters today, if they want to summon it to come to the table or whatever, we do have apps built on iPhone, the Apple apps, and also on Android to communicate with it. What it does is it sends information to our cloud, and then the cloud summons that particular bot to come to. We're not doing localized edge communications yet, but everything is through our cloud.
So if you had to do something outside, right, or you're away from the Wi-Fi, or if you had to do something really fast.
Right. Today we are not doing. They're not capable of going outside because even LiDAR, the light disperses, and so the configurations are not there for us to do outside. So these are all indoor only today. Outside, along the walls, yes.
Know some good neighbors run instead of yours.
Yeah. You could do that, yes. Yeah. Sure.
Could you possibly make them out of recycled plastic?
Possible. There is a lot of, today we don't manufacture them in the US. This is all coming out of, so the components are all made in South Korea, and then the finished product is coming out of China. Because from timing perspective, these all we didn't have, so eventually we're going to look out for assembly. But yes, there's a possibility. Even the trays, they're all aluminum trays. So the possibility of actually making plastic.
You talked about 17 states. Which 17 states?
17 metros.
Oh, metros, okay.
So, there are lots. Maybe.
Any key ones?
Right now we're looking at St. Louis, we're looking at Vegas, looking at Phoenix, Arizona, and then Dallas. So there are many more in the pipeline.
What about Chicago?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Chicago is close by. So it's like for them, we don't need a metro. We just stand here. And,
That is part. We're just a suburb.
yeah, we're just a suburb. Yeah.
It's just it doesn't like being outdoors just due to the LiDAR
Settings.
Right. So the building is primarily glass, given all of the kind of trending in terms of architecture. Is it impacted by that, or is it? If it has a problem with sunlight, basically, does it have to be solely indoors, or is it challenged if there's too much light in the space that gets? Sorry for the ignorance here.
So can you repeat the question for online viewers?
Yeah. So the question is, outdoors, why is it challenged?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a better way of phrasing it.
Okay. Why is it challenged? So, literally, when we first configure it, it's a topography of the place that we have to build. Right? And when you go in open areas, it's the light disperses. And so literally, you're not able to find clean lines of where it stops, so you have to really have, so You can take it outside, but it has to be alongside a building because then you have a definition of it has a definition of where it is. Otherwise, what happens is, on the topography, it's not able to find its point. Yeah.
So it could be in a courtyard that was enclosed.
Oh yes, yeah. Courtyards enclosed, even like in restaurants, where they have outdoor seating, not a problem. But if you take it out to, it's only like less than 6 feet. If it has no context of the topography of the place, then it'll lose, and you'll have to bring it back to its original point. That's a waste of time already, right? Yeah.
What's the minimum square footage that this would be effective for?
Right now, there's no minimum. It depends on the memory of, because today, certain bots we have. I mean, it just depends on. The only constraint is around if it's got multiple floors, then there'll be multiple maps. And today it doesn't talk to elevators. That is something we're working on. And eventually, when it has multiple floors, then it can hop onto those things. But it all depends on memory, on how much memory you can put. Yeah.
Does it map by itself, or do you have to feed some kind of like the map like has a LiDAR, right? The first time when you deploy, it'll just walk around and learn by itself like our robot.
Yeah. So the way it's configured is first time you have to take it around so that it builds the topography of the location. Topography is important because that's when it knows its context. And the second thing is, you'll have to define, where are the pickup points, drop-off points. Those you can configure. And then in terms of once those things are configured, we create a track. And those tracks, it will optimize, right? Because it's learning on those tracks. It's not necessarily.
If something changes in
If something changes, it goes around things. But there's some level of tolerance. It cannot be like, somebody comes in and puts a complete, stop, a blockage
around inside.
Right, yeah. So there's some level of tolerance there, but most of the time it's a reconfiguration that they'll have to do. Just change the track that, there's an obstacle now at this point. Or let's say somebody built a wall, right? So you'll have to say there's a wall in there.
Do you have any key technology partners when you went through the development of it?
Yeah, so yes, so from LiDAR, we're working with Velodyne LiDAR. And then in terms of our finished product, it is Pudu is the name of the company in China, which is actually producing the complete product. And then there are Intel chips on it. So we actually got in like there are 4 different onboard chips on it. So Intel is working with us to actually make that into one and so forth. There are many more. I mean, again, guys, all these things existed, right? It is not like something we built everything from scratch. This is more like a customer got us a problem, we solved it using what was already there in the market, right? Just brought them all together and got the right players to build these bots. It's not something that we all of a sudden got up in the morning and said, oh, I need to build bots. No, right? So this is great. What I want to say is there are several companies already doing a lot of things in their own ways. It's a matter of stitching them together is what we have specialized on, right? And it's just not the hardware stitching, but it's also the software part of it. And that is where I think our strength is.
I'm just curious about the duration of operation.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question was the duration of the operation. So these bots, the battery capacity is around, from a usage standpoint, right? Yeah, so Ketty, the smallest one, it's about like 10 to 14 hours of battery life. And it takes about like 4 hours to fully charge. And they're smart enough, when they get to like 20%, they dock. And if you have multiple bots in the environment, they all talk to each other. So let's say if one of them is running on a task and it runs low on battery, it'll go dock and it'll pass on the task to the second one. So it's context aware, right? So that is possible in Ketty. In Bella, since it's a little more, it's got a bigger battery in it, and that one is about like 14 to 16 hours worth of battery life on that. And the same, it's 4 hours of charge time. Bella, we don't have a self-docking thing yet, but the Puducta, the disinfecting one, we do have a self-docking piece. That is more, when it gets down to like 2%, it goes automatically and docks.
I presume it's a docking station that has an adapter.
Yeah, so it's kind of like we can build it. It's usually you can have it sit outside, or embed it into the walls, and then it'll go dock itself. Yeah. They're just configurable. Yeah. It's like a charging pile. It's the size of like a 2x2 tile, right? That you can put them onto a wall.
So you said it doesn't open, or does it communicate with elevators? How does it get into rooms, those doors, or like completely off the limits?
No. We are.
Repeat that question.
So sorry. The question was, you said it wouldn't communicate with doors and elevators. So we are working with elevator companies and also door tech companies. Elevators like Otis, Cone, Siemens. What we're doing right now, it's not like it's built into it. It's a project, right? Most of the facilities, if you look at it, will either have to come in and retrofit because of the fact that the elevators may be old. If they're modern elevators, yes, we can, right? But if they're not modern elevators, then we'll have to, it's a project-based thing. So we'll have to retrofit it with a controller that will communicate, that will allow for the communication with the boat. And even the same goes with doors as well. So doors, if it is just a door locking system, then we can work with them, right? There are things like Kissy and so forth that we are integrating with. If it is something like a hospital, where BMS, you have building management system, we can integrate with that, right? So again, these are all project-based, I would say. It is not something like out of the box, I can do everything. It is more like we have the integration endpoints, we just need access to those BMSs, and then we can work with the building management software to actually open, close, things like that. It's equivalent to like in some of the hotels, your key card, or, even though they are old elevators, you have those little controllers which will allow for the key card. Only when the key card is tapped on, that is when it will allow you to use the elevator going up to the floor, right? It's similar to that, where typically most of them have like an open platform for communications through APIs and things like that. So what would happen is the bot will send an API communication to the elevator that will summon it, and then literally, once it will communicate which floor it needs to get into, and then it'll take to that floor. Then the elevator communicates back to the bot in terms of saying, now you're at floor 2 or something like that. Okay? So those are all different interactions that happen between bots, elevators, and rooms. Yeah.
So what is the current status? That everybody has to leave their doors open? Whatever else you want to sanitize?
So today, in schools, yes, they are opening the doors, all of the school doors, all the classroom doors, and then at the end of the day, it's all open. But if there are facilities, there are some facilities, where it's locked, and we talk to their BMS systems to do that. But again, it is project by project basis. Yeah. Facility by facility, there are different rules. There was one facility where even in a school, they cannot open the doors and keep, because it's a security protocol that they have. And then there are certain facilities, they have security systems detecting people going around.
Yeah.
Now this guy will be like, intrusion detection, and literally inform the cops and things like that. So what we're looking for is, we need to deploy something like like in these security systems that we have at home, they sense pets,
Yeah.
right? So that sensitivity has to be built.
Yeah.
Right? If a human versus this thing, so heat versus just a regular object. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you bail him out?
Hey, what?
You bail them out. Jail.
How much did it cost you?
Have you thought about any industrial uses for this? And so let me give you an example. So here's a factory, right?
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about and they get spills, whether it's oil or water, and then they become really a safety hazard, right? Plus, you just like it not to be dirty because you get stuff. So have you guys thought about doing any of the cleaning in the factory, maybe making a little bigger one? Or?
Yeah, I mean, actually we're looking at cleaning, but not really in the factory side of things. I mean, because these bots already existed, they are in manufacturing. We are working on the front of the house. I think that's our focus right now. It's because of the fact that I think bots existed behind the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now we want to bring them to the front of the house, and that's where I think our focus is at this point. But there are definitely scenarios where people are asking for, can you have something to follow me, right? Carry larger payloads.
Yeah.
So those kind of things we are looking at. But our focus is always front. Can it be used for back of the house? Yes, I think we can.
Do you feel like it's already saturated?
Yeah, there are a lot of players down there, but I think in the front of the house for the kind of application that we're looking at, I think we're the emerging tech there.
I think
So-
Walmart has one of those that just goes in and cleans the floor.
Yeah.
I've seen those at
Some
once.
stains.
Yep.
Yep.
Huh. So, are there security features in the bot so that somebody can't, like in a mall, run off with it?
I was just gonna ask, like, what does it see, and can you somehow, can an image be displayed to a human being to see what it sees? And then thus, what's your security look like? Because you've got basically a rolling camera for your
Yeah.
building.
Computer vision.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, so the question is, can it actually, I mean, because it's got cameras on it, can it actually display what it's seeing? And then the other question was, what kind of security do you have on it? So, yes, it is capturing, but the capture we only use for in terms of understanding the context, not necessarily, it's only for as it's moving through the facility. It is not like Nightscope, capturing. Nightscope is a company, which is specializing in security solutions, which is looking at people, recording those things, and then actually providing information back to a central system. We're not doing that today. So today, the cameras are purely for moving from point A to point B. That's the intent of use. Can it do more than that? Yes, it can do more than that. But in terms of data that has been collected, we are collecting all the stats in terms of the amount of distance it's covering, the kind of tasks it's doing, all those kind of things. Information is transmitted to the cloud every 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah.
What are your greatest, what do you see the greatest opportunity or potential for growth? Like, what's the use case?
Yeah, so
what has been your fastest growing, and then what is the greatest constraint?
yeah, so the fastest growing at this point, I would say the marketing side of it and also the sanitization, right? Because sanitization, again, going back to my previous point, we need to up our levels of sanitization, and that's, come on, we already went through a COVID and another pandemic. We have to be prepared. And so, from that standpoint, when we talk to facility services companies and things like that, they're all about, we want to make it happen. So that is number one. And then the second thing is the marketing one, which is more around, like in the kind of cross advertisements, right? So for example, you have a restaurant, you have another hotel. Hotel wants to advertise their stuff on the restaurant's bot, and the restaurant wants to advertise on the hotel's bot, right? So these kind of things are. That's a very good opportunity. That's the growth for us is going to be very high in that space. Now, from delivery standpoint in restaurants, or delivery or hosting standpoint, we have good growth, but there's always the people. The thought around it is replacing people, right? That is something that people have. I mean, it has to be overcome. There's a lot of education that we need to do, and that's the sort of like the constraint there. But what we have seen is when people initially, there's little rejection, but once the wait staff, let's say for a restaurant, they start using the bot, we're seeing them spend more time with the customers, approximately 30 to 40% more tips, and the customer experience is much better, right? So first of all, the restaurant industry, if you look at it, they're short on staff. Second, okay, this is substituting, and as it's substituting, now the existing staff are able to focus more and provide better customer experience, right? So when they see that 30 to 40% increase in tips and things like that, now it's an acceptance. I mean, they're accepting it. So it's a sort of like a, you start with rejection, but you slowly adapt to it, right? So I think that is where, from a delivery and hosting standpoint, in the restaurant world, that's what we see. Okay? So not everything is positive. Sometimes you have to work the negatives out.
With that in mind, are there any particular regions throughout the country that this is, more people are initially more accepting of it versus the others? Have you recognized any trends in that regard yet?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the West Coast. West Coast and like the Texas area, they're accepting. I mean, I would say the metros, they accept it. I mean, there are two things, I mean, it's a lot more accepted in the metros compared to every town. Yeah, but but the thing is, in Peoria, once we started getting into Avantis, and you've seen the press, and also if you follow the Facebook thing around it, you'll see this exact same thing that I was talking about earlier. But it is the new norm. So let's do it, right? And we need to level up for the future. So that's a thought around it. Because if you don't do it, then how are you going to give a better experience to your customers, right? Because you're already running low on stuff. So why not deploy these tools to assist your stuff?
And to follow up with that, kind of unrelated, but have you dabbled with home care yet in terms of providing assistance to seniors in their homes?
Yeah, so the question is, have you dabbled with home care? Yes, we are working with nursing homes and assisted living centers. So today they already deployed in the cafeterias. What we're seeing is the residents are wanting bots to deliver food to their rooms or to their tables. In fact, they're getting to the point where they're saying, at 8 o'clock, I'll be at my table, come and deliver. So it's kind of like, it's nice, because and an interesting thing is there was an ask for also, can we play bingo on it? Right? So all those things are possible, and so we're working on those. Yeah, we need a casino now, a slot machine.
Nice, yeah.
So what about safety? Just if it's a crowded area or, how do you guarantee safety?
Yeah, so we do have several configurations on braking on it as it senses. Typically, based on crowd, based on the location, we adjust the braking capability on those. And also, it detects, so it will stop ahead of time and it'll go around things. Right? So, in terms of safety, I would say we haven't had any incidents, but
That's good.
you never know. Sometimes people are, if they're not watching, it could. And so I think insurance should cover it. I'm just saying, because I don't think. It actually they don't actually they sense, so they will break ahead of time. There are different tolerance levels.
So you're selling the hardware and the software, or do you also sell software by itself if somebody had a bot?
Commercial model, is it?
Yeah, so today it is all in one, but our future thing is to expose, kind of make that software available, and also we're planning on to open it up that way, because like I said, as people see them, use cases are piling up. Not everything can be done by us, and our goal is to open it up and have the community start building apps on top of it.
So like a marketplace?
So what's your commercial model right now? Is it like you buy a robot or you buy it as a service?
The question was, what is your commercial model? So today we're doing all as robot as a service. So it's a monthly subscription that you pay for, which is essentially that covers both the hardware and also the platform cost. And then there are certain facility services and certain companies which are doing capital investments. And so from that standpoint, we allow for buy, but there will be a service contract associated with it. Okay. Go ahead, Kip.
There's robots that are out there doing maybe industrial things now, and there's robots that are in hospitals. What do you see as your differentiator from that's going to set you apart now and kind of going into the future, as well as more entrants, I would assume, start to come into this space to fill the same gaps and shortages that you are looking at now?
Yeah, so the question is, there are more, as more entrants come in, how are you prepared?
Yeah.
Right, so yes, definitely, today it's a hardware play, right? But that's not where our focus is on. Our focus is more on the software side, the marketplace side, the bot OS that we're building, that is on it, the apps that we're going to build on top of it. So as more entrants come through, our intent is to partner and actually provide them the software so that we can build the ecosystem, not necessarily just stick to our own product, our own software. So today it's a product play, tomorrow it'll be more than a product play, it'll be an ecosystem play.
You're Android as opposed to Apple.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Right, any other questions?
Any questions online?
I asked.
In case they're in the chat.
No, it's not needed.
What's the cost model look like? Is it coming down as you get more volume? Is it staying relatively flat?
Yeah, right now it's still new, so the cost hasn't gone down. In fact, it is actually because of all of these the duties and we're paying a lot for all of those. Yeah, it is going up, but our intent, as we're looking to start our assembly line here itself. And when we do that, then it'll go down. Because at this point, it is more like we have two things not working in our favor. One is, the finished product is made in China, and so the cost of imports is quite a bit. And also, when you look at the chip shortages and those kind of things, those all attribute to that. So transport, logistics, it's not the product, it is more so the logistics aspect of it is really, really bad at this point. So that is something that we can really optimize on, and I'll bring it down. And then as more and more component manufacturers come through, then the cost will go down as well. Cool.
Well, thank you, Sudheer.
Yeah, thank you very much.
One thing before I leave, I just want to recognize, I mean, if you guys haven't met, our team members here, John, Manoja, Patrick, and Dan Fry, up there. We have, I'm really, really fortunate to have a good team and who's looking out for things in their own spaces, and they're doing an awesome job. And so thanks guys, for coming along and for participating in this event.
No, thank you. It was excellent.